All right, good afternoon. How's everybody doing? Pretty good? Just a few people. All right, well, welcome to Behavioral Science Introduction to Psychology. I am Dr. Ross. I'm glad to meet you all. This course should be a very interesting, engaging course where we will all talk, contribute to the conversation. We'll learn many facets of psychology, such as the history, applications, what can you do with it as a career, maybe something like that pique your interest in. We'll learn about personality disorders, behavioral traits, and all sorts of facets of what it means to be within the field. First things first, let's just kind of go over the syllabus. Matter of fact, let's go around the class and do just some introductions quickly. And then I'll kind of get into my background. So what I want to hear is just, hey, tell me your name, what year you are, what your major is, or proposed major if you're uncertain about it. Yeah, and that's it. And maybe, if you care to add what you wish to do with this education you're trying to get. Start here.
I'm Mario. I'm a freshman and my major is graphic design.
All right, Mario, graphic design. Excellent. What do you want to do?
Making graphic design.
I'm good with that.
Like make drawings or what the make designs and posters, anything for that.
For businesses?
Yeah.
Great.
Hi, my name is Camilla. I'm a first year and I major in communication.
All right, communications, Camilla.
My name is Alex. I'm a freshman and I major in biology.
Alex, biology. Here.
I'm Jasmine. I'm a first year. I major in psychology.
All right,
My
Jasmine.
like counseling or therapy.
Okay, great. Welcome, Jasmine. Go ahead, Claire.
My name is Juliana. I'm a freshman. I'm majoring in biochem with a minor in psychology.
Hi, my name is Natalie. I'm a freshman and I'm majoring in nursing.
Green nursing.
My name is Asher. I'm a freshman and I'm majoring in criminology.
Criminology.
Hi, my name is Delilah. I'm a freshman and I'm also majoring in criminology.
Next up, well, either one of you, what do you wish to do with studying criminology?
I wish to become a criminal investigator.
Oh, psychology may help.
My name is Alexa and I'm a first year and I'm majoring in psychology.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Perla. I'm a first year. I'm majoring in nursing.
All right. Hector?
I'm Mariana Yates. I'm a freshman and I'm majoring in psychology.
My name is Evelyn. I'm a freshman and I'm majoring in nursing.
My name is Ava. I'm a freshman. I'm majoring in pre-law.
Pre-law. What do you wish to do? Are you seeking to be a lawyer or?
Yeah, in athletic court.
I'm Tia. I'm a freshman and I'm majoring in nursing.
I'm Tyler, I'm a freshman, I'm majoring in nursing.
I'm Isabella. I'm a freshman and I'm majoring in neurobiology.
Neurobiology. Great.
I'm Isabella. I'm a freshman and I'm majoring in computer science. I'm Felicity. I'm a freshman and I'm majoring in nursing.
I'm Eliana. I'm a freshman and I'm majoring in nursing.
My name is Alejandro. I'm a freshman, and my major is neuroscience.
I'm Aries, I'm also a freshman and I'm majoring in science.
I'm Melissa. I'm a freshman and majoring in nursing.
Hi, my name is Isli. I'm a first year and my major is nursing.
I'm Abby. I'm a sophomore. I'm majoring in biology with 2 classes of dentistry.
Dentistry.
Oh, my name is Diego. I have a major in finance and a minor in accounting.
All right, so businessman.
Yeah, business minor.
Hi, my name is Anthony, I'm undeclared, I'm a freshman.
Okay. Any interest whatsoever, Anthony?
No, cause probably, even if I pick one, I should pick one actually, cause when I say undeclared, everybody asks me questions. Well, like, I'm probably gonna switch it regardless. Most people are gonna switch to,
Yeah.
they don't stick to one, so.
Yeah, I don't think you get it right, you know, oftentimes that, you may take some courses and find something a little bit interesting, talk to other people about it. All right, so yeah, I'm Dr. Ross. I graduated from Dominican with an MBA many years ago. So business was kind of where I started out, right? Later I got into psychology and I was known, well, I'll start here. So I got into international business, right? My interest was to travel around the world, buy great residential properties. I was like, yeah, I love to travel. I love real estate. I was a broker here for a while, but then I started to do travel and interact with different cultures, meet a lot of new people. The US dollar is very strong versus a lot of other countries. So I'm like, yeah, if I get enough investors, I could buy a ridiculous amount of properties around the globe, right? Places that I could visit, where you just have a sense of pride about it. That worked out very well, right? This kind of happened right as I was getting my MBA here from Dominican. And so it worked out very well. Started to make a little money, then I was like, all right, I like this, but now I'm still having a longing to sort of do something else, right? I'm like, business is business. Once you get to a certain point, you make enough money that the income stream is just good, and then, you know, sometimes you get a little bored with it. You wanna do something else, another project. One of the things I did kind of unethically here in Dominican many years ago was when I was an MBA student, right? So it's a 2-year program. And we're here to be sharks in business, but we're here to make money, right? And so I knew some people at the publishing houses, and I was able to supply pretty much mostly all the books, to all the students for 2 years myself. So I probably got $30,000 those 2 years, right? Kind of unethical, but I'm like, hey, you know what? I'm saving people a lot of money because I was giving it to them at an extreme discount versus what, you know, could have otherwise. That may be a con, that may not be a good thing. So all right, so I began to make a little bit of money as a businessman. I'm like, well, I still want to do good things. How can I go about still traveling the world, meeting great people from different cultures? And so I was like, I'll start a foundation. So I started a foundation, and I primarily give money or develop programs, mental health programs, education programs, working with the governments in South Africa and Peru. And so I started my own foundation, right? So I started to use money that I had from my for-profit business and flow it over to nonprofit, right? To give it to people in need. After that, so I was in a PhD program, and I, you know, became what's known as an international psychologist. You're like, well, what is that? Well, guess what? What we're going to learn here is primarily Western psychology, developed by Europeans. Like, there's a whole other part of the world, people with superstitions, different religious beliefs, different cultures, foods, languages, right? And I was fascinated by these people. And so I started to think, well, do I want to do just therapy with people here in Chicago, Illinois? Individual, marriage, family therapy? I was like, no, I want to do therapy, counseling, for people around the world, right? And so I became what's known as an international psychologist. So I worked with indigenous populations, such as some here in South Africa, cultures, different cultural groups, work with governments, organizations, all sorts of communities. And that was my sort of calling, right? To work with different cultures, different people, interact and understand, and kind of bring psychology to sort of a global system instead of a Western approach. So that's my background, right? I got 2 small kids, Christian and Chloe, they're 5 and 4. Yeah, and what else do I like to do? Ride motorcycles and go hiking, and travel, and sailing, and just, you know, regular old stuff. That's my sort of story. Any questions? All Alright, so first thing, let's get to the syllabus so we know what to expect with the class, alright? Alright. Okay, so for this class, we got 4 exams, right? We'll break it up, an exam for every 3 chapters, right? They're not gonna be very long. The first 3 are not long, right? It'll probably be maybe about 5 questions, right? And they're not gonna be like multiple choice or, fill in the blank or anything like that. The last test, which is this cumulative final that everyone in the psychology department gets the same exam. That one is fill in the blank, multiple choice, and, sort of short essay form. But the first 3 are kind of essay form, right? Short essay form. You have enough time to do it during class time, but what I really probably will do is those days we have the exam, we'll probably take them online at home. So we may even have class those days, but I'll keep you posted about that. So 4 exams. At the end of class, a course reflection paper, about 2 pages. We also have a weekly discussion post. Right, so I put up the first week's discussion post on Canvas already. I want 1 response, an initial response, and then 1 reply at least. Right, reply to somebody else in the class, to keep the conversation going about the particular topic. The research participation I'll talk about in a second, and then we have, attendance and in-class participation. Probably have some group assignments from time to time. It's kind of random, so it's important to be here in class, be present. That's a huge part of the grade. Then we have our presentations. All right, so with our presentations, this is how I want to do it. So I'm only going to do 2 students per group. And we'll have a weekly presentation every Wednesday. Doesn't have to be that long, right? I don't want you to freak out about a presentation. 10 minutes, 15 minutes, however long you can make it, right? But at least maybe 4 slides per person who's presenting. This gives you an opportunity for public speaking. Who here has speech anxiety or public speaking anxiety? Right? All right, we probably all do, right? And to some degree. But the point of this course is that we begin to work on ourselves. This is psychology. We're going to address self-esteem, fear, anxiety, personality traits. Why do you have these sort of thoughts, feelings, emotions? Where do they come from? Is it childhood? Right? Is it of your own sort of free will? You just concoct these imaginations, scenarios? Right? So we'll kind of work through that to hopefully improve the public speaking. And I'm here to assist. So whatever I can do to help, you can be part of your presentation, I'll do it too, right? The point is not to give you anxiety. I'm not here to make it so you have anxiety. The point is for us to explore and become better, become highly self-aware individuals so that we can perform to the best of our abilities, right? Take your time, pace yourself. Different methods. So we'll have one each week, every Wednesday, probably at the end of class, Wednesday. Right, that way you don't have to relax yourself, I'll lecture and come up in the last 20 minutes. So 4 slides, each person presenting, and then offer your own discussion questions. Right, sometimes it's hard to be like, oh, any questions? Nobody's dead silent, right? Because nobody wants to ask anything. Just want to move on. So offer your own discussion questions based on the topics that you're talking about. Any questions about that? All right, and we'll pick those groups today. And we'll figure out who's gonna go next Wednesday. Oh, okay, and so what are the presentations about? Hey, they're of your own choosing. Choose your own topic related to psychology. It could be things from your generation that people are going through. Anxiety, stress, drugs, substances, childhood, pregnancy, sex, anything as long as it's related to the field of psychology. We talk about being here, why, what, when, how, who, et cetera, et cetera. Make sense? Right? That way, you know what, you don't have to stress about like having me pick a topic that you gotta conform your own thoughts, right? Make it interesting, make it something relevant to the class, or relevant to your own generation. And I put a place on Canvas, for everyone to just kind of submit. All you're gonna submit, there's no paper with the presentation, just a PowerPoint, right? So just a PowerPoint. And last but not least is research participation. That is 20 points, right? So we're looking at a total of 200 points, exams, course reflection, attendance in class exercises, presentations, discussion posts, and the research participation. Now, research participation is the Department of Psychology requires, right? It's not just me picking it, but they're required that you participate in research that they have here on campus, right? So there's a portal that you can go to. I don't remember the name right now, but I'll put it in an announcement. And you can sign up for different research. It could be something very short, like a 10-minute survey online. Right? You'll participate, you'll do a write-up of it, right? And they don't want at least, I think it's like at least 2 to 3 participations on here. Let's say for now is, okay, it says here, 2 research projects. Right, so you need 2 at least participations in a research project, and then write up a 1- and 2-page summary of your experience. Right? Hey, what did you learn? What was it about? Right? What do you think the purpose of the study for? What are your thoughts on that? Right? And that is it. That is all that is expected in the class. Yes? Two. Yeah, participate in 2 things. It'd be 2 different surveys or whatever. And like I said, there's a, I think it's Soma, right? There's a portal for Dominican where you go in, you create an account, log in, and it lists or can probably email you a bunch of stuff. Right? So you can take something. And this is due by the end of the semester, so you have time. Right? You got time to at least do 2 of them. All right, so let's go ahead and pick our sort of group partner. 2 people. If not, I'm just gonna go pick. Should I pick or do you want to pick? Okay. So we'll just go in sequence, so it'll make it easy. And what it is, I put another discussion post on Canvas. So when I tell you your group, right, remember your group and put in the discussion post your names, which group you're in, right, and which week. Basically, whatever your group is which week you're on, so that you always know exactly which week you're gonna be presenting. So 1, 2, group 1, group 2, group 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. There's 3 people. Okay, well maybe you go last with 3 people, right? That means you have 12 subjects. Right, just to make it fair, you gotta have that little extra work there. All right, anyone, any confusion? Remember your group numbers? All right, write your names, put it in Canvas, I already put it under discussion posts. You can do that. Any questions about it? Presentations are good, excellent, and you can't speak in front of people. Right, it's gonna limit your growth, I'll tell you that. You'll still probably get as far as you can in your field, but eventually you gotta speak in front of people, teams, groups, meetings, et cetera, et cetera. So this is gonna be good, right? We did practice. Okay, let's get into just a little bit. We're gonna start a little bit of psychology. All right, first question. What is psychology? Here's the thing. Right? What separates students from being a scholar is having your own opinion. We could regurgitate Google, we could ask AI, right? We could come up with all sort of generic things. What do you do? That's not learning, and that's not being authentic, right? It's okay to have your perspective. It's okay if you think you're wrong or you're right, right? Knowledge is limited. There's no such thing as perfect information. No human being alive has perfect information. The answer you given in class, in the university, is the best you know at this specific time, in the state of mind measure. That's it. That's how we make choices and decisions. We make it based on, hey, what information do I have currently at this particular time frame in life, and what state of mind I'm in. I'm hungry, I'm mad, I'm angry, I'm anxious, so, right? So remember that, keep that in mind. There are no bad answers. It's just your answer, right? We may agree, we may disagree on things. This is not something where I have the perfect answers, right? Never believe no one who tells you that. That's also false. A lot of things we learn are theoretical, which means, hey, it's the best that we know right now. It's not perfect. We didn't sample 8 billion people to come up with a perfect answer. That's impossible, right? For a particular study or something. So just remember our class. This class is meant for you to express, like, because we're talking about something very personal. We're talking about, we all have probably issues. We probably have some trauma, some disorders, abnormalities, cognitive, emotional, right? The point of this class is I want everyone to kind of express, hey, how do you feel about it? What's your take on this subject, right? That's what the university should be about. Unfortunately, as a student, I kind of complain too. A lot of professors, it's kind of dry, I'm learning too much. Maybe I remember 3% of the information. Why? Because I'm probably interested in other stuff, right? But I think a good, healthy classroom environment is where, hey, tell me how you feel. Right? Tell me your thoughts, your perspective. This is what it's about. So, back to the question. What is psychology to you?
Study of the mind.
Study of the mind. Then we have to get deeper, like, what is the mind? Everybody have their own thoughts. We say mind, you're like, you mean just the brain?
That's behavior.
Right? And then it's like, all right, behavior, we got a good assessment. We're like, okay, behaviors are actions manifested from something. A bunch of stuff, maybe. But where's your take? Psychology is emotions. All right? You're like, what are emotions? I don't know, expressions of hormones, maybe? Maybe emotion is state of mind? Right? Like, well, what's a state of mind? A particular instance of your reality? Yeah, it's this state of mind, right? I'm hungry. That's a state of mind. Yes? Cause and effect, right? You're saying, all right, biological chemical processes in the body, right? Hormones trigger creating some sort of expression or reality. Anything else? Consciousness. What is consciousness? How do you even know you're alive? Is this real? Is this a joke? Is this a dream? Think about it. Who knows? You have some scientific research that, oh, I think, therefore I am. I think, therefore I know I'm alive. Right? I know. That might be challenged. Right? So this is psychology. It's like, well, it's a multitude of things. But here, let's try to keep it simple, right? We don't want to get too complex, right? It's the study of mental processes, right, that create behavior. So it is kind of complicated. Mental processes. But we can get beyond that. That's simple, but that doesn't really take care of everything, right? Because like, I don't know, are we a soul inside of a body? Are we a body inside of a soul? When I see you walking down the hallway, is there an aura around you? Some energy projected 3 feet? The people always say, like, oh, I like the energy you got, the aura you got. What are you talking about? Energy. Right? These are things that we'll talk about and think about and challenge, right? And then we'll go to the science part. Hey, what's the best stuff that we know that's out there, right? What does the studies say about particular thing? The kind of first few chapters heavily deal with research, right? So we're talking about scientific method, right? So we say, hey, we can have all sorts of thoughts on things, but for us to have any real discussion about it, it has to be proven. You're like, well, how's it proven? I'm like, well, we do a study, we do research, right? Observations, participants, right? Under what conditions? We'll look at all these different things. So that we also know too, hey, besides psychology, we're learning research, how to be a good scientist, a good researcher. All right, so let's get to it. So we'll look at psychological science, scientific, non-scientific questions, science of person, mind, and brain, psychology, history, and looking ahead. Hey, the textbook. Anyone have any issues with the textbook? No? Okay. The textbook, I believe, is just, you can get it online. Completely online. It's by Cervantes, 2024. That's the author, and it's in the syllabus if you need to remember. Someone keep time for me. What time is it right now? Okay, so here. Yeah, and then we'll cover psychology's history and looking ahead. All right, so psychology, science of brain, mind, and person, right? So like, hey, who is the person? Who is the person? You're like, oh, we're studying social groups. Interesting. Okay, so we're talking about social psychologists. How does all of that work? What are the dynamics? The brain. Hey, what parts of the brain usually controls what parts of the body? Right? What brains control which hormones? You right now are still being developed. You guys should use that against your parents. They're like, oh man, you made some poor decisions. Like, mom, dad, of course. My brain's still developing. I have a scientific reason why I crashed the car. Right? Scientific reason why I stole $3,000 out of it. You can be like, hey, my prefrontal cortex is still being developed to your mid-20s. Remember, the prefrontal cortex is the part of the brain that separates us from every other animal. Yes?
It sounds like another way of making excuses. It sounds like another way of making excuses.
It is, right? Of course. Right? We still have to be responsible for our behavior. But anatomically, you are still you're probably not making the most highest executive level rationality, because there may be a skewed sort of measure of emotions versus logic at this stage, right? So you say that prefrontal cortex, which controls our logical functions, right, to make the best decisions with all alternatives given, still being formed, right? So to about 25 years old, let's say on average, sometimes people later, maybe 27. Hence you may hear some of the phrases of, women, sort of mature faster than men, right? We'll maybe kind of explore what, these type of idioms or whatnot would, speak about. We'll talk about those later. All right, so contemporary psychologists rely on three complementary scientific research. So you can say, hey, I want to work with individuals, I want to work with groups, or I want to work with communities, right? Bring a wide range of skills to a wide range of challenges. So what can you do with psychology? I'll tell you why I got a PhD in psychology. Got my MBA, doing my own thing in business, and I was like, I always wanted to continue school. I was like, well, what exactly? Psychology for me was the greatest way to go, and it was because it was both a medical degree, it was a research degree, it was a PhD doctorate, so like you could teach, be a professor, you could work in hospitals, you could have a private practice, right, of your own, licensed by the state or wherever, licensed somewhere, right? So it's a professional degree, meaning like, hey, you get a license, like a lawyer would. Lawyer passes the bar, get a license to practice law. Medical doctor has a license to practice medicine instead of a law, right? So I'm like, all these different things, I'm like, man, this is wonderful. This is research. You could teach. You could be a therapist. You could, I'm like, sky's the limit. There's, to me, it was very few degrees that hit all of that. And then I was like, this is the most interesting thing because it never stops. It's a field dealing with us. About every single nuance of life. Right? Especially, the little sort of idiosyncrasies about human behavior. So that's why I went into psychology. I'm like, this is great. Also, you're like, hey, you know what? Business nonprofit, you could be a organizational psychologist. You're like, what's that about? You're like, man, you can arrange businesses in different ways. It's no surprise why Google, if you go to, say Silicon Valley, Google, Facebook, Apple, right? All these places have gyms, coffee bars, right? Beautiful, bright colors, everything. Organizational psychologists came to their like, hey, you want the most happiest employees that will never leave this job? That will give free marketing for you and tell everybody how wonderful it's work here? Organizational psychologists do that. Small things, right? Colors change moods of people. Titles change everything for people. So we can give you a cool title with very little compensation. You might still have a sense of pride and ego, like, I'll take it. What's the CEO's like? Cha-ching, right? Free labor. Yes.
Casinos. Casinos.
Casinos, right? We'll talk about that as well too. The dopamine effect, right? TikTok. Why you keep scrolling the next video until you've been on TikTok for the last half hour? It's the dopamine, right? We'll talk about that as well too. So yeah, to me, it was unlimited range of things you could do with the degree. I'm like, hey, you know what? No matter what, I can never get bored with this. If I be a therapist, I can just hear about people's problems all day, forever. Right? For the rest of my life. That'll never stop. 2, there's always new research. What do we learn now? Right? 3, it dealt with me. Psychologists may be probably the most messed up people. Right? But that's why we're so great at the field. Right? We might have the most sort of trauma. So yeah, it's great, right? Medical, you work in educational system, right? Business, nonprofit, government, VA, hospital, health service, high school counselors, et cetera, right? So yeah, I would say highly just consider, or at least minoring it, right? No matter what you do, the human aspect you can't take away. We're talking accounting and finance, like, hey, why do so many people invest in this thing? Human behavior. We call it economics really behavioral economics. It's really the study of human behavior. Why do you make choices and decisions based on all the alternatives out there? Why'd you pick that one? Right? That's really what that's about. Typo here, what are the common threads that unify psychology and distinguish it from other fields? We do like scientific method here. You can't just say stuff. Right? You have to have a little bit of backing with research. There's a lot of research, right? So much research. Think about it. Most of you, you've done written papers. Are you writing it in MLA or are you writing in APA? The format for members. You may not have written any college papers yet, but has anyone ever written in either one? Which one?
I really hope.
In both, right? Yeah. Usually the standard is APA. Like, what's APA? American Psychological Association. You really develop the format for like standardized writing because it's so much rigorous research, such detail to be a psychologist. And an application of these methods to questions about behavior, thinking processes, and therapy to reduce psychological stress. We'll talk a lot about stress. I know you're gonna be stressed out. Watch, by like the middle of the semester, when things really crank up. So we'll talk about what anxiety is. How do you change it? Right? People stay the same, people change, does therapy work? So what kind of therapy? Right? And then you can get into, where's my criminologist again? Right? Talking about maybe working for the CIA or FBI. Behavioral profile. Right? How to identify a psychopath. How to identify sociopaths. Right? How to work to infiltrate groups. You understand group dynamics? You might become the leader of it, simply by understanding psychology. Right? Observing everything. Like for me right now, I had 5 minutes with you, and I already picked out personality traits. Who wants to know? No, just kidding. But at the same time, you can do so much if you truly can understand behavioral processes, right? Why we think the way we do, why we're feeling the way that we feel. All right, some other things. Intuition and its limit. Intuition provides, what is intuition? Let me ask you. What's intuition? A woman's intuition. What's that? What do you think? Right? You say, hey, yes.
First natural response that comes to you.
Yeah. Natural response that comes to you. You may say, hey, it's an evolutionary thing. Pre-existing knowledge. You need no research for that. Just how we get gut feeling, right? Given to you. Something may be inborn to all human beings or something very instinctual. Like, yeah, we have the books, the lectures, the science, whatever, but that's even one. There are things like instincts and intuition. We sometimes just know. Sometimes people can predict. People can see around corners. Right? And we'll kind of address some of those things too. How is all of this possible? What is the limitation to the scientific method? It has limitations. So intuition provides spontaneous insights and hunches. How does intuition help or hinder psychological inquiry? We don't need to answer that right now. But then we have our scientific method, right? So who knows the scientific method? who has done any research whatsoever in high school? No research in high school? All right, hypothesis, anyone remember that? What's a hypothesis? All right, you said educated guess, right? Like, hey, I don't know, I haven't did the research, I have to assume something. I'm gonna take an educated guess about something. I think if we do this, this is what happens, right? Sometimes we can have a null hypothesis. We think nothing will happen. I believe nothing will happen. That could be a hypothesis, right? I think there will be no change in anything, basically. So we say scientific process. You're gonna use this for the rest of your sort of academic life, at least. Where you're saying, all right, I need to observe something. What do I need to observe? I need to observe some people. What are you gonna gather from this? Like, I don't know, I have a couple questions, right? Like, these questions would be my research questions. I wonder why people like to touch their face and their hair, and shake their leg every 15 to 20 seconds in class. I wonder why humans can't stand still, literally stand still, for 50 minutes. Right, it's impossible. Is it? Let's do the research, right? We'll probably come to find out that it's impossible. You're like, well, who's shaking the leg? Who's shaking the feet? Who's touching the neck? Right? Who is doing that? Like, I'm doing it. Of course, you're like, yeah, you think about it? Like, no. Then who's doing it? You didn't think about it. You're not thinking about it. Who's doing it? Right? And so we say, hey, we have automatic things inside of us that probably control most of our behavior. Maybe 80 to 90%. So when people say, man, I'm in control of my life, I don't know if that's scientifically true. I'm in control of that much. Thoughts, right? Like, there's a whole other me that is completely acts on its own. Pulls his hand away when it's hot and it's fire. Shakes his leg when it's boredom. Because boredom is a stressor. Boredom is anxiety. So you have to regulate. You gotta go on TikTok, you gotta go on Facebook, you gotta go on Instagram, check your email. Why? To regulate. Right? So we have a thing called homeostasis that we're kind of born with. We're like, homeostasis is, say, baseline. You're born with this blood pressure. That's probably your blood pressure for the rest of your life, whether it's high or low. Right? But you're born with these sorts of hormones, hormone production. Probably have that for the rest of your life too, whether it's high or low. And et cetera, et cetera. Right? Homeostasis. So we think like, hey, baseline. And you're like, what are the things that are going to take us out of baseline? Class may take us out of baseline. Maybe, anxiety or whatever. And we'll discuss those as well too. All right, I'm not gonna inundate you with too much. But yeah, please, today, put up your names and your groups on the discussion board. Remember, group 1, you put right here, next Wednesday. We'll start at 2. Start emailing each other and talking.